Hi everyone, my name's Hugo Williams and I'd like to tell you a little bit about my career as an engineer and why I think engineering is such a great career for you to consider. So what do engineers do? We use maths and science to solve problems, basically, to solve the world's great problems are being tackled and solved by engineers. And we do this by designing and making the kind of products we use. Everything from relatively everyday products right up to really high technology things like nuclear reactors or aircraft. We're using existing knowledge to literally make the world better through the work that we do. There are loads of different types of engineers. Some engineers work in kind of maintenance, so fixing things. But a lot of engineers work in the area of design, and that's really where you're designing and making new products for the future. There are lots of different kind of branches or fields of engineering as well, from mechanical and electrical engineering through to kind of more specialised areas like civil engineering, who design buildings and bridges and tunnels, and chemical engineers who design chemical plants, for example. So it's a really exciting and diverse area. What do I do specifically? I'm an aerospace engineer, so I'm trained to design aircraft and spacecraft and the components that go into those. I work for a university, which is a little bit unusual for an engineer. Probably the biggest part of my job is actually educating and training future engineers. So hopefully one day in a few years' time, if you decide to become an engineer and you go to university, I'll be teaching people like you. But also those of us who are engineers who work at universities do research on new technologies that will get applied to future products. And some of that research can be really exciting. So my particular area is to do with research that goes into the design of future kind of systems for spacecraft, which is obviously really exciting. I also have a job kind of leading and managing people. And that's actually quite common in engineering, that people who are engineers go on to have management responsibility for things. And that tends to be because we've learnt skills in things like team working and problem solving. And those are the kind of skills you also need to be good at managing people. So I'd like to tell you about a couple of really exciting projects I've worked on. First of all, the thing in this picture here is a camera that we built at the University of Leicester to go on a space mission called Bepi Colombo. Bepi Colombo launched 2 years ago and is going to take 7 years to get to Mercury. So it's going to be 2025 before it gets there. And it's designed to investigate the planet Mercury. In particular, this camera will take pictures and try and determine what Mercury is made of. I was involved because the black components you can see in this picture are made of carbon fibre. So this is the structure of the instrument. The structure is needed to hold all of the kind of scientific detectors and the lenses in the right place. And it has to be really strong and really stiff and really lightweight. And that's why we make it out of a material called carbon fibre, which is also used in things like Formula One cars and advanced ships and on aircraft increasingly. So those components needed to be manufactured, and I was involved in working with the manufacturer of those components, the team who actually made it, to resolve some problems with that manufacture and to make sure that we could deliver it on time so that the instrument could get made and could get put on the spacecraft in time for launch. The other picture that you can see above me here is a computer-aided design model. And a lot of the work we do as engineers designing things is using computer-aided design, so computer-based design packages. And this is a nuclear battery. So spacecraft that go a long way away from the sun or land on a planetary surface where it might be day and night can't use solar power, because you can't obviously use solar power if you're so far away from the sun that it's really weak. And if you land on a planet and you've got solar panels, they don't generate any power during the night on that planet. So space missions for quite a few years have used nuclear batteries if they're American space missions. So you might have heard of missions like the Voyager mission, and indeed the Perseverance rover that's just landed on Mars. It has a nuclear battery as well. But Europe doesn't have this technology, and we at the University of Leicester have been designing and building the prototypes in the hope that one day it might fly. So I was involved in both some of the early design work on our design of space nuclear battery, and the sort of the hexagonal shape of this design was my kind of creative input to it. There are really good technical reasons why it's that shape. But also I was involved in testing some of the prototypes as well in our laboratories. So we were able to build a small prototype and test how much power we'd get out, and learn a lot about the design that we could kind of feed back into the design. So really exciting projects that give you just an idea of the kind of work that engineers do. So is engineering the right career for you? Well, if you like science and maths, and you like solving problems, and you like working in teams, then almost certainly, yeah, and you should definitely consider it. Engineering is a really trusted profession. So there was a survey last year, and it was found that engineers were trusted to tell the truth and do the right thing, third out of all the professions in Britain. And we came just behind nurses and doctors, and just ahead of teachers, although everybody scored pretty much the same score. So it gives you an idea that engineering is a really, well respected and trusted profession. And that's true not just in the UK, but all around the world. So it's a career that could take your career all the way around the world as well. Engineering as a career is open to everyone. Don't believe any stereotypes you hear about engineering. It's true that the proportion of male engineers is greater than the proportion of female engineers at the moment, but that's changing, and it will continue to change. And I'd strongly encourage you that if you're into maths and science and solving problems and working with people, then engineering would be a fantastic career for you, regardless of gender or your background. Really, engineering is all about your kind of ability to be a good engineer. Engineering is a well-paid career. If you do a university degree in engineering and you graduate, then on average you'll earn about 20% more than the average salary for graduates. And those kind of earnings kind of go on through your career. So it's a really kind of good, secure career that pays potentially good salaries. So how do you get into engineering if you're interested in it? Well, and there's a number of routes. The traditional route for going into a kind of design engineer, particularly in kind of high performance areas, is to do like A-levels and then a university degree. But there are other routes as well, including T-levels and apprenticeships. So lots of different routes into engineering. And I'd say my kind of final bit of advice is, if you think engineering might be something that interests you, definitely do some research on the internet about it. There's loads of information out there about engineering careers and the different types of engineering, so see which bits you're interested in. But also talk to your teachers, talk to your careers advisors, and talk to any friends or family who might be engineers to find out, what they think about the profession, and take on board any advice they've got. So best wishes to you all for your future, and who knows, one day I might get to meet you all if you decide to take a university degree in engineering, or might meet you one day as an engineering professional.